Hey, my name is Mr. Chipman, and I teach at Murray High School. I teach AP biology, I teach honors biology. I have taught zoology and anatomy and physiology as well. Who knows, I may teach those classes again sometime. But for this video, we're going to be looking at 5 ways to prepare for AP biology, which can be a difficult class, but I think if you can follow these tips and if you work hard, I think you can do well in the class. So let's talk about some ways to prepare. The first way to prepare is to research. Do a little bit of research ahead of time. I'm not talking about learning your subject necessarily, though for an AP class, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to go back and review maybe some of your notes from the honors course, particularly if you had me for honors biology. Go back and just read through those notes casually, just to refamiliarize yourself with some of the vocabulary. Biology is a very vocab intense sort of subject, and so go back and just read through those, just like while you're eating your cereal in the morning. Just kind of casually look at them. That may be helpful. Also, go to my website. It's chipmanbiology.com and click on the AP button that looks like the button shown there, and it'll take you to a couple important places. There's a link to my syllabus there, which you can read, which is, it's semi-helpful. There's also a link to something called the AP Biology CED, or Course and Exam Description. Strongly recommend you looking through that. I wouldn't read it word for word or anything, but it kind of gives you an overview of what the course is going to be about, how the exam is laid out, and that sort of thing. Very important, because this is an AP class, and at the end of this class there is an exam. I don't force my students to take the exam or anything like that, but I strongly recommend it because I don't know why you would take an AP course unless you were interested in taking that exam. But that's neither here nor there. Another way that you can prepare, of course, is by going to my YouTube channel where you found this video, and there are others like them. I have all of my lectures for the AP Bio units found there. I have AP Bio review videos. I have recently made videos answering the FRQs that were for the 2023 exam. And so there's lots of information there. Encourage you to check that out. Go ahead and subscribe to the video, because one of the things I plan to, or to the channel, because one of the things I plan to do this year is to post several shorts, as we get closer to exams, to help students review for those. And I know that all teachers all over the place are at different pacing, and so either whatever it is, you can go back and review that material. I think it would be helpful for you. So let's look at another thing that we need to talk about. Another way to prepare is to gather your supplies. The supply list for my class is pretty simple. You need paper and a pencil. You need probably a binder, and the reason I recommend a binder is to keep up with your notes, because you will need to keep up with them. Why? Because again, we have an exam at the end of the year, and being able to study those notes as we go forward is going to be helpful for you. Have some way to keep up with them. A spiral notebook is fine. Don't recommend composition book because they're harder to organize because the pages don't tear out. Calculator is also going to be a necessity in this class. We do quite a bit of math. Quite a bit is relative. Of course, it is a biology course, but there is some math that is associated with the course, and in order to do well on the exam, you will have to know how to do those calculations. Nothing hard, but something that you need to practice, just like any skill, and so having your calculator available each day will be a good thing, especially for the exams. Getting students to remember to bring their calculators for the exam day is always fun. So that's the basic supply list. Nothing crazy there. Another way to prepare for my class is to begin thinking about a routine. Several of you, just because of the types of students you are involved in lots of activities, and so you have to start to think about prioritizing things. If you want to put all of your efforts into your extracurricular activities, that's fine, but there's probably not going to be a whole lot of room left for AP classes. And I recognize the fact that you have 7 or 6 other classes other than mine. And so I'm not expecting you to devote 100% of your time to my class. In fact, I'm going to give you a lot of time in class to prepare and study so that you don't have to do a whole lot of outside of class work for this course, but you will have to do some depending on your goal. And so go ahead and start thinking about a routine. What days are you going to study? How much are you going to study on those days? I recommend a little bit of studying every day. as a way to prepare for the class. I think it's the best practice just to get a little bit of time in every day, familiarizing yourself with the content. Memorization is not an important skill for AP biology, but having that information readily available is going to be helpful. And so always familiarizing yourself with the information is going to be good. Another way that you can prepare, the fourth way to prepare for my class, is to be prepared to work. And what does that mean? First of all, you have to know that this is going to be a tough class. And so you have to come into it with the mindset knowing that it's going to take a particular amount of work in order to accomplish your goals, which we're going to talk about in a moment. And so you have to have that proper idea. Okay, this class is going to be difficult. This class is going to take a certain amount of work ethic in order to succeed in it. And so you just have to have that mindset. If you're coming in thinking this is going to be easy, I don't know why you're thinking that. And so you may want to consider another course, or we can have a conversation about that. I would love to make sure that you understand what you're getting into. I will try to do that in the opening couple of days as well. But be prepared mentally as you come into the class for the first time, knowing that, hey, this class is serious and we're going to try to do well in it. I'm not that serious of a person. I don't take myself very seriously, but I do take this class seriously, and I want you to do well. And so that is something to think about on the front end. And another part of this is to understand your weaknesses. We all have them. In AP especially, you're going to be regularly assessed in using multiple choice and regularly assessed using written responses, or what we call FRQs, or free response questions. And students usually struggle in one and are good in the other one. And so common student is a good logical processor, and so multiple choice is something that they're pretty good at. However, they may struggle with FRQs because, they don't really know their content as well. They're just able to logic through things and solve it. And then I have other students who are really good at knowing their content and memorize the content well, but will struggle with those multiple choice just because their processor works a little differently than another student. It's fine. Know that on the front end and know what your strengths are, play to your strengths, improve upon your weaknesses. And I think this is a important for any success in any realm, but particularly in this class. And lastly, consider the future. What are your goals for my class? If your goal is to make less than a B, sign up for another class. Seriously, I don't know why you would take an AP course and planning to make a C. But for some students, a B is a reasonable goal. And that's why I have these SMART goals up here. A SMART goal is specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timed. And so what does that mean? It's specific. You have a specific grade or a specific certain goal in the class. It's measurable. That is comes without saying. And as far as a grade is concerned, but you don't want to say I want to do good in your class. That's not measurable. What is good? What is do good? And so have something that's measurable. I want to make an A. I want to make an A90 or an A100. Those are two completely different goals that have completely different paths to those goals. And so those are some things you need to think about. Attainable. If your goal is I want to make an A100, but you've never made an A in a class before, then maybe that's not an attainable goal. And so we need to have something more relevant or more reasonable. Relevant goals are something it's a little different for a course, a classroom setting, because obviously your goals are going to be relevant to the class. You wouldn't want to say, I want my goal to, I don't even know what a non-relevant goal would look like, but I'm sure you could probably think of one. Timed is a good one because I want to have this information mastered by such and such time, or I want to have this grade by this date. It could be a midterm or something like that. But this SMART goals give us something that we can regularly look at and assess and reflect on and adjust. And I think that's helpful. And there's something different to an AP class that's different than any other class, and that is the AP exam. And so the exam is in May. I don't know the exact date, but you can look it up online. But you have to think, okay, what are your plans concerning the exam? First of all, I don't get behind. We will have about 2 to 2.5 weeks at the end of the year, unless we have a bunch of snow or something crazy, to review for the exam. And so You will get through the material. You can go ahead and plan for that to happen. And so then you need to ask yourself, okay, first of all, am I going to take the test? I don't make my students take the test. You may not want to. You may just doing this for college prep, and that's fine. Secondly, you may think, okay, I just want to pass it. I just want to get a 3. Well, that's a particular goal. That is much different than getting a 5, right? Those two students are going to have to do a different kind of work. And so you need to think, what is your goal, and how are you going to achieve that goal? In an AP class, it's a very important thing. If you have questions about that, for most of you, I will have had you as students before, and so I could probably give you a little insight into what I think about what your goals should be for the class and so forth. I'm always willing to have those conversations with students, and so please ask if you have some concerns there. One way that you can help me out is by liking this video. Maybe share it with a friend who you think would enjoy it. Share it with a friend who goes to another school. Share it with another teacher if you're a teacher watching this video. Subscribe to this video again so you won't miss future content as I post videos, as I post review shorts, as I post other review videos and other AP related content. That would be great so that you can help me out. Also, if you need to contact me directly, you can find my contact information on my website. Again, thank you for watching.